So hello friends, first of all I just want to mention that this is all stills. I've been asked a few times about footage for what I did, and I don't have any footage but I have stills, so I'm just going to share the stills with you. It's about connecting up the thermostat to the power fans, and I'll just explain to you what I did over the time. But first of all I just want to mention, if your radiator cap comes off and it looks like this, it's definitely time to change it. That controls the compression of your radiator and has to do with your cooling system. That if you got a faulty radiator cap, or reservoir cap, you need to change it so the cooling system can function properly and your heaters will work properly as well. I changed mine with this one here simply because I wanted to know that if I wanted to add more water to the reservoir or something, I wanted to know what temperature it was. That's what I had at the time. What I've got now is one that has a release valve, so I can just flip the release valve up, release the pressure, and remove the caps safely. So first of all, with the wiring, just let me explain to you with the relays. You can see the first one on that alloy bar that I put there. It's a 80 amp inline fuse. Then you got the relay for one speed of the fan, and then you got the next relay that's for the second speed of the fan, and the last relay line there, that's for my driving lights, so you can ignore that. How I've got that wired up is both fans come through that 80 amp inline fuse, and I've got that connected directly to the mains underneath the fuse box there. And so they both got all the powers and connections all done there. So one side is activated by the AC compressor, so when I turn the AC on, one speed of the fan will come on to make sure that the engine's always cool. And the other one is triggered by the thermostat that I modified to connect to the intake manifold on the engine itself. You see that connection there on the AC compressor? That's the connection that I tapped into for one of the relays. You got a white line with black trace, that's a negative. You want to connect into the other line, that's a black line with a white trace. That's only 12 volt when the AC is on. So when the AC is on, that would then activate one relay to make the one speed work on the fan, so you've always got the fan working when the AC is on. So that's how it looked when I was finished there. All I did was splice into that black wire. I didn't solder it, I just spliced into it, taped it up, and then I put a cable tie around the tape afterwards just to hold it all together, because I've experienced too many times that you tape something up and the tape slowly starts to come back off again. It doesn't matter, most of the time it happens with cheap tape, but it also happens with good electrical tape as well. So cable tie there just to stop the electrical tape from coming off, and that's all I need there. I didn't need a strong connection, it just needs to be a wire that's going to activate the relay. I could have used a much thinner wire there. I just happen to have 40 amp wire, so that's what I used. So the bottom part of the sensor that you can see me holding there, I broke that by accident. So it was just in there still, and you can see next to it I just siliconed into place because I got another sensor from a Mazda. I got another sensor from a Magna that plugs on the same connection but won't go into my intake manifold, so I just siliconed that next to the sensor and left it as that, which came in handy later on for when I did this job. What I did was I drilled a hole through the old sensor, the old broken part of the sensor that is, to look like that, cleaned it all up, so I was left with what you can see there. So that gave me these three sections. You got the sensor that I bought online with the adapter in the middle, came with it, and then I've got the piece that goes to the intake manifold to take the temperature of the engine, and that sensor there cuts in at 73 degrees, so that was perfect for me. I did want the fan to come in at about 70, so that was all good once we put it all together. It then comes all together looking like this. Now, I don't remember if I used JB Weld to put the two connections together. I'm pretty sure I used solder, heated it all up, melted solder onto the old sensor, and then slipped the other part over the top and then cleaned it all up. But I could have used JB Weld, I'm not really too sure. Either way, it would have been good enough. So once I'd finished doing this, I used plumber's tape in the end there for the sensor just to make sure that the seal was good, and that was all done. I then installed it into the van. Once I had it installed, I was happy with it. So I then silicon back the sensor from the Magna into place. It was doing a fine job there. It's only cluster temperature that it was reading. I also have diagnostics that I always keep an eye on anyway, so it wasn't a big concern to me that if that temperature did read different, that it was worrying me, because I can see on the diagnostics tool what my temperatures are anyway, and it always gives me alerts if my temperature gets over 90 degrees. So that was not a problem for me. Temperature always read where it should read anyway, a little bit below half. So I was comfortable with that. So yeah, I finished up there, and hopefully this is of use to use, because when I try to type it and say this is what I did, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. So I figured I'll share these stills with you, show you what I did. I'm not going to explain the wiring part of it. You need to know how to do relays and so forth if you're going to do the wiring. So if you know how to wire a relay, then you already know how to do the wiring. Yeah, so I'll leave this here. Hopefully that helped you out. For all those who wanted to know how I installed the thermostat onto my intake manifold. As always, I appreciate you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.